If you do not know how to identify red flags in women, then there is a very high chance that you will end up with the wrong woman who is not only going to cause you heartache, but will take away time and money from your life that oftentimes you may never get back. The consequences of being involved with an immoral woman can ruin your life. And the only preventative measure is to fill in your knowledge gap right now when you are single, so that when you go out there and start meeting and interacting with women, you are safely protected with the right information to accurately vet her character, values, behavior, and words to ascertain whether she would be a good wife or not. That's it. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you exactly what a red flag is so that you have a foundation, a blueprint that you can start with. Okay? The reason why I am telling you this is because there are some red flags, when you do get this right, the right information, that you can spot on one phone call. I've learned this over the years. I teach this to my clients. You can match with a girl on a dating app and get her on a call, and in 5 minutes disqualify her. You don't even have to go on a date. There are other red flags that will maybe come out after a few more conversations or deeper questions that you ask, or perhaps by actually going on a few dates. But I can guarantee you one thing. It doesn't take no more than a few weeks or a few months to uncover any red flags that have been kept slightly hidden under the surface. Because ultimately, the truth always comes out. So there is no such thing as, but Christian, I've been with my wife for 10 years and she suddenly left me. I don't know what the red flags were. She was always perfect. The amount of guys that have sent me messages like that and emails over the years, I mean, I could write a history book on it at this point. And I always ask them the same thing. Tell me about her from the beginning. And you know what I always find? There were very clear indicators from the get-go that she was doing or saying things in the first few weeks or months of the dating phase that immediately disqualified her. And after all those years later, they came out as deal breakers. So no, your situation isn't unique. You're not going to fix that woman or change her or save her. If there are red flags, it means she's not suitable for marriage. Because godly women don't have any red flags. And guess what? Godly men do not have any red flags either regarding marriage, being marriage material. So that's something I want to clear up, and I'll tell you all a little story about that in a moment. So first things first, let's start with a Bible verse that encompasses the overall theme of this topic. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. What I'm giving you here today is wisdom, which is going to help you understand this. Because once you know red flags, I mean, it just cuts off 50% of your stress and worries when it comes to dating. Because you can accurately interact with a woman safely, and you have the confidence that you can see through any lies or any immoral behavior, and you get really good at it. So what is a red flag? Red flags are simply warning signs that there's a problem. Dismissing red flags will always lead to disaster. The red flags you ignore at the beginning become the deal breakers in the end. Red flags are always rooted in sin and unresolved trauma. Now, sin, for those of you who don't know, it's any immoral act that is a transgression against God. So, obviously, God has laid out specific standards by which we should live by, which are honorable, right? Don't lie, don't steal, don't kill, don't murder in cold blood, okay? Tell the truth, be loyal, be honorable, love your wife and children, love your neighbor, right? Do good to others, okay? Protect the weak, protect the innocent, help the poor, take care of the sick, right? But in whichever area of life, there are specific sins that will affect relationships more so than other sins, right? For example, if I'm overweight and I'm obese and I'm eating all the time, I'm a gluttonous, which is a sin, right? It's excess, it's greed, it's too much. Now, if I've done everything right in my marriage, but I let myself go and I'm obese, I can lose that weight I can get back to how I look now and I'll be fine. That may affect the marriage, but it's a character flaw that can be worked on. But let's say I was somebody unfaithful and I cheated on my wife, and I've had a history of always cheating on my girlfriends in the past. Guess what? She's always going to have problems to trust me. That's something that will never go away. That's practically a deal breaker, right? So you have to understand that there's a difference. Guys, a lot of people get red flags wrong. If you're in a relationship and you guys have a few arguments because there's misunderstandings and you learn to communicate and grow together, that's not a red flag. Okay, a red flag would be if over a year, every time you try and communicate, they go mute and they don't open up. Yes, then that would be a red flag that will come out more over time because of their communication issues. So you have to learn how to read between the lines and use your intelligence. Okay? So sin. There are certain sins that are going to be more dangerous in regards to relationships. And then, of course, unresolved trauma. So anytime there are serious adverse effects from childhood or from previous relationships that deeply affect your mental state and they alter the way you view people, how you communicate with them, if you're able to trust them or not, it can make people put protective layers on so they hold back and they don't know how to give or receive love. They may develop more insecurities, and these broken pieces of themselves, these wounds that they have, if they do not heal from them, what's going to happen is that it leaves long-lasting effects that makes them effectively unresponsive to connection and intimacy and emotions in relationship, which makes it near impossible to maintain a lifelong commitment or bond to them because they always have one foot out the door because of their unresolved trauma. Okay, topic for another day, but just to give you a general overview, sin and unresolved trauma are always going to be the root cause of red flags. Nothing else. They oftentimes overlap. And again, for anybody wondering, there are exceptions where at some point in someone's life they had red flags, they work on themselves, 10 years later they're clean. Exceptions. But it's not worth gambling your love life on, I'm going to fix or save her. It really isn't. So, there are 3 things you need to know about red flags. Number 1, red flags are behaviors or situations that indicate that the woman is not capable of being in a relationship because she's either a danger, not only to you, but to herself as well. Okay? This is exactly what I mean by sin and also like some trauma. So if a girl has severe mental illness, like I have BPD, she's a schizo or something. The paranoia and the issues she has, she could lash out at any moment. She could endanger her own life or yours. What if you had children with that woman? If someone is not stable like that, there's nothing you can do. Okay, and people don't just become schizophrenic. There are different factors that can happen if they have a serious mental illness, related obviously to their health, their nutrition, their hormonal profile, serious things that could have happened to them in the past, or evil, wicked things they've done in their own lives, which have ruined their mental state because of sin. But it's not worth being with a woman like that, is it? And with mental illness, there are certain behaviors and situations that you will start to see with women like that. They may put on a good act in the beginning, but you can't hide that forever. The next, of course, would be a woman who's a feminist. Of course, a woman who's anti-family, anti-love, anti-marriage, doesn't believe in the traditional order of men and women, is not suitable to be a wife and mother. Don't try and fix or change her. Have there been testimonials of girls who used to be feminists, but then they changed and they're really sweet? Great. But you don't want to gamble on that, do you? Especially if you're putting in the work to be prepared to be a good husband, you deserve the same. If she's not willing to be led out of feminism, keep her where she is and you find a better woman. The next would be substance abuse. Okay, girls who abuse drugs and alcohol, which severely alter their consciousness to where they're not going to make rational or stable life choices. This tells you she's more prone to being reactive, being emotional. Someone like that is not to be trusted with making smart long-term decisions in life. I'm going to fix her. I'm going to change her. Are there exceptions where the girl goes to rehab or the guy goes to rehab for the ladies watching and they change? There are. If you're committed and you're married and they develop some issue later on in life, you're married. Keep and honor your vows. But if you're single and you're vetting someone, this is dangerous behavior. When someone's broken like that mentally and they have a lot of pain, all they need is love. All they need is to be fixed up. And if they're not willing to do that or get the help, find someone else. They are going to be a danger to you and to themselves. And of course, promiscuity. And this one goes without saying for the most part. And I'm going to use an analogy for this one for the guys who don't get it. If you buy a used car, you will have to pay for any damage done to it by previous owners. Oftentimes, the damage is either irreversible, you got to throw the car away, or you have to pay for it for as long as you keep the car in your life, which for some guys is for the rest of their lives. And this isn't about cars, is it? Common sense. You can Google that, you can research. I have many videos about pair bonding and how all of that works. Do your own research. And that's a massive red flag. That's not someone you wife up. The next thing is going to be red flags do not always equate to being a horrible person, right? It oftentimes means that the woman is stuck in her own world of problems that prevent her from being vulnerable, open, or able to love you. She's insecure. So if she's maybe falling into the sin of idolatry, where she doesn't love God yet. So what happens is she's comparing herself to everyone. She doesn't have love because she doesn't know God. She doesn't know how to give it. She doesn't know how to receive it. She may find herself comparing herself to other women or wanting multiple men to make herself feel better about herself. In that state, that girl has done nothing to prepare herself to be a good wife. There's no meekness. There's no humility. She's not at a place in her life where she knows how to nurture a man and honor a man and love a man when she can't even love God or herself. And she may have skeletons in the closet, things she's doing behind closed doors that she's ashamed of, embarrassed. So she's closed herself off. She's not vulnerable. She doesn't tell you everything about her life. You discover things after many weeks or many months because she's not being genuine with you from the beginning. Doesn't mean she's a horrible person, but it means she's very broken and she needs love. But that has to come from God first. We all have a past, we all have brokenness, but you fix yourself by going to God. If she's not willing to do that, there's a problem. Because the overlap there isn't just sin, it can be unresolved trauma. Girls that have had really bad things happen to them, really abusive ex-boyfriends, they were sweet girls, they didn't know any better, being involved with the wrong guy. Maybe they get abused physically or they get betrayed, and that pain, that emotional damage is so strong that they're licking their wounds and they're at a place in life where they're not healed, but they try and rebound, they try and date you, and then they kind of settle for you because you're not the guy they really want and they're just running away from their past, and you're just, again, they're rebounding and you notice something's off. Doesn't mean she's an evil person, she just doesn't know any better. But you don't want to be with a woman who doesn't know any better. You want to be a woman who knows what it means to be a wife and wants it and is prepared for it. The same thing. You want to present yourself as a godly man you're serious about being a good husband. You want to lead, you want to protect, you want to provide. The fruits in your life indicate that you care about that and that you want it. Because to a good woman, she's going to be sold, right? To a godly woman, it might even intimidate her that you're this guy who's well put together and you're serious about marriage. And it scares a girl who's unprepared or not ready. But if she's not willing to get ready for you, then that's a bad problem. Even if you backtrack, she wasn't even willing to prepare herself to have a well-ordered life. See what I mean? Red flag. Doesn't mean she's horrible, just means she's not at a place in her life where she's ready, right? That girl who has unhealed trauma, maybe once she recovers in a few years and gets over the ex or gets over the wounds from her childhood, is now ready to love again and trust again and find a good man and raises her standards and becomes a godly girl. Great, but let her go find that guy. If you meet a girl and she's currently in that state where she's insecure. She's on her Instagram posting pictures that are immoral. It's just godless. She's attention seeking. She's living a vain lifestyle. It's immodest. It's immoral. It's not worth. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Let her go. She's comparing herself all the time. She's not happy with who she is. It's not worth the squeeze. Let her go. Find a girl who has self-esteem. Find a girl who does have confidence in the Lord. That's what you want. And thirdly, red flags, as we see on screen, are simply warning signs that a woman is immoral. Remember, sin. Women who are transgressing God's law. If a woman isn't happy with how God made her, she can't even accept herself. She's not grateful. There's no joy in her life. She's not peaceful. She's not appreciative for the good in her life. What makes you think she's going to be grateful to have a man like you? Do you think she's really going to internalize what it means to have an honorable man? Because it takes one to know one. If she herself isn't a godly woman, how is she going to appreciate your traits? How can a woman appreciate your masculinity if she's not feminine? It's not your job to fix her. You wouldn't expect a woman to accept you when you're some weak, broken loser who's angry and bitter at the world. You already know instinctively a good feminine woman wants a guy who's masculine, he's strong, he's confident. Maybe he's still working on certain things in his life, but he's masculine, right? He's got a vision. He's going to lead her. He's going to try and do what's right. That's what she wants. Well, guess what? You've got to have standards for yourself. This often means if a woman is immoral, these are the girls who are using you. They're broken and they're using you to make themselves feel a little bit better because their life is so bad. They're not actually interested in you. In other words, she might not even think you're attractive. She might even know inherently you guys don't have the same values, but you're a good looking guy. So she wants to give it a shot. Or you're not that good looking, but you have such kind qualities. You're a masculine guy. She can see you're loyal, but you're not really her type. But she's dating you anyway, and she's lusting after other men. She's immoral. Or she's just damaged goods. There are certain things about her that are just evil, wicked. Maybe she has a track record of cheating on all her ex-boyfriends, and you find out either she confesses or other people start telling you, right? If you don't know the town, you end up marrying the witch. You have to start vetting women properly, man. And these are the girls who are immoral that have severe character flaws that disqualify them. As I say all the time, ask yourself 2 questions. Only marry a woman if you'd be proud to have a daughter just like her. If the answer is no, I'm not sure, or not how she is right now, but maybe in the future, you gotta walk away. The second question, would you allow your son, if you had one in the future, he comes home one day and says, Dad, this is the woman I've met, and it's a woman like the woman you're dating right now, and you'd be ashamed, and you'd tell your son, don't do it, stay away from her, then what the hell are you doing with her yourself? Because a woman's beauty, it's going to be great, but it has to be paired together with the shared values and no red flags. Because she's going to be raising your sons and daughters. You want your son to see, wow, mum's such an amazing woman. And you want your daughter to see, wow, this is who mum is. I have a blueprint to follow. Because a lot of guys always want to try and say that, oh, it's always the father's duty. Yes, a father does have a responsibility to lead. But you can't really teach your daughter how to be feminine and be a woman. Only your wife can do that. So you better find yourself a good, honorable, feminine, loyal woman who's going to pass down those traits to your daughter. Because sexual behavior is actually influenced in many ways by the mother to the daughter. Okay? So you got to be very careful with what you choose. But I'm going to fix her, Christian. No, you're not. You're going to cuck yourself. So girls that are narcissistic, right? They're high on the narcissistic spectrum, right? Jezebels, if you per se. Girls that have very low empathy, very low sympathy, And it doesn't really matter whether the damage is from her own sins that she's done that's made her so clouded to love, or she's had such a bad upbringing. She's an adult, and if she's doing what she's doing, using, manipulating, that's not bad. And typically, as you know, red flags always overlap. If there's one, there's more. So if she's a narcissist, she's probably going to be the type of girl who's superficial, a gold digger, materialistic. These are the girls that settle. They go for guys that don't desire them. They go for guys that they can have power over because they're not feminine, they're not submissive, and they're afraid to trust a man. So they often go for guys that they can use and extract. And because they give superficial relationships, that's what they expect back. And you're the loser who ends up going for it if you're lustful. Or you have a really big knowledge gap, because these signs are always going to be evident, right? Gold diggers, narcissists. And oftentimes this will overlap with girls that I like to call them plastic women, right? The Barbie girls. The girls who are not happy with how God made them, so they alter their appearance. It's like a different level of insecurity. They're putting the lip fillers. They artificially enhance and change and modify their body, not because of a health reason or to fix it to how it used to look after an accident or a deformity. They are altering their physique because they're comparing themselves to porn stars and fake women. That lets you know she has no self-respect. And also they're the attention-seeking type of girls. They always want to be looked at by other men. They don't want the presence of their man they love. They want it from everyone. Okay, they're cheap, morally speaking. And these are the girls that typically tend to be unfaithful because it's immoral behavior. But what you'll find is, as I said, these sins will overlap. A girl who's dangerous to you or herself, she's promiscuous, she's not valuing her sexual purity, she could get pregnant by the men, get STDs, is also a girl who's insecure. Is also a girl that's usually going to be unfaithful or an attention seeker. They always connect. Always. So it's three things, men. Behaviors or situations that she's dangerous to you or herself. Sometimes it's just she has her own problems in here that are evident on the outward behavior, on her fruits. And these warning signs mean that there's immoral behavior. That she typically has no care for how she affects other people. That's a disqualifying factor. And if you ignore them, they'll always become deal breakers. Case in point, the story I said I'd mention earlier. This I'm going to tell you right now. I had a man sign up to my Relearning Relationships community. He's in his 40s. And he made a huge post about his soon-to-be ex-wife. He's currently divorcing her. Who went off and cheated on him last year with some man. And he says he didn't understand why she'd do this. There were no red flags. She was always good to him. Right. So I said, tell me the beginning about your relationship. So he did. They've been together since they were in high school, like really young teenagers. But for the first 12 years of their life, he never married her. They were only married much later on. There's a reason for that. When they started going out, within a few months, what was she doing? She was like flirting and being inappropriate with a male co-worker. And he saw that and he walked away. He took her back after 6 months and chalked it up to the fact that she's young and immature. Maybe she didn't know what she was doing. And because this man, at the time he was young, didn't have the knowledge, no one taught him, no one warned him, what happened? He gave her a chance. And after all those years, that same behavioural trait festered. Apparently she was good to him all those years, which I highly doubt. What happened? After 22 years of marriage and another 10 of being together, total, whatever it is, what happened? She just went off with another man. But that's what she did to him all those years ago. You see what happens when you overlook a red flag? Oh, it's not too bad. Good women do not do that, guys. Godly women wouldn't even think of looking at another man ever if they love you. If you love your wife, you would never do such a thing to her, right? Do you see how that's a red flag? And now look at him. 20's gone, 30's gone, in his 40s now. Has to start from zero. All because all those years ago, he gave her a second chance. Do you see what I mean? So when guys tell me, you've never seen a situation like this, I didn't see the red flags coming. They're always there from the beginning. You're either delusional or you willingly turn a blind eye. But if you backtrack from the beginning, it's always going to be there. So that's today's video. I'm going to give you an introduction to what red flags are. There is much more information on red flags that I could teach you. A lot of that is too much to package into a video. So it's either in my book, Relearning Relationships, or in week 4 of the Relationship Mastery course. There are 19 specific in-depth lessons which goes through every single red flag ever. But this is just an overview of what a red flag is, which I want you all to understand. It's these 3 things that I've mentioned here. And the root cause is always in sin and unresolved trauma. And ultimately, the girl doesn't want to know God. She's godless. She doesn't want to come to Christ. Well, there you go. She's always going to be immoral. And these things will always come out sooner or later. But when you get good at vetting women from the beginning, you'll often find you can spot these red flags on a first phone call, on a first interaction, first date, few weeks or few months. There is no such thing as, I was with her for 2 years, Christian, and there were suddenly red flags. No, they were always there. You either didn't have the knowledge to identify them, or you had a spider sense that something was off, and you left it too late, and you turned a blind eye, and you buried your head in the sand. So it's always good to self-assess yourself too. If you are someone who has red flags, it means that right now you're not at a place in your life where you'd be a good husband or father. But if you are willing to learn and turn your life around, and you actually want to master this information and find a godly woman that has the same values as you, has the chemistry, has compatibility, and no red flags, and 100% suitable for marriage, so she's safe for you to court, marry, and have a family with, then I recommend you book a call with me on my website to see if you're eligible to join Relationship Mastery. Link down below in the description. Or go to relearningrelationships.com. And with that said, that's today's video. This is what it means to understand red flags. This is all that it's rooted in. And these are the things that you want to consider moving forward for you guys who are single. Okay? This is all there is to it. And with that said, hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families. And I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Let me know if there's anything you'd add, anything else you'd like to ask me. And I'll see you all in the next one.